My friends, what a beautiful day, beautiful solemnity brings us here today out of our normal routines. The church asks us to come to Mass today to celebrate one of the great mysteries in the Christian life. And although it doesn't pertain directly to the life of Christ, it pertains to the person who was the most important person to him in this life, his mother and our mother. Today we celebrate her assumption into heaven, body and soul into glory. And this is something that is great news for all of us. Because while today is a singular grace for Mary, it's only so for a time. What is already been done for Mary, we are told, will be done for us too. God will raise us up from our graves at the end of time, pulling together everything that made us who we are, reconstituting it, rejoining it to our souls, and allowing us to live with him in our full redeemed human nature for all eternity. That's why today is called a great sign. We heard in the book of Revelation today, which is an odd book for modern ears because it's very symbolic, very apocalyptic. John is not doing in the book of Revelation what the gospel writers are doing in the gospel. He's conveying some deep truths and some very highly symbolic language. But what's pretty clear is what we hear today when he says, I looked up to heaven and I saw a great sign, a woman clothed with the sun. We know what he's seeing. He's seeing Mary. Now, this would have been someone that he knew and loved deeply in this life himself, because Jesus entrusted her to his care at his death. And so when he looks up and sees her, he knows what he's looking at. But it's more glorious than he could even put into words. And what he sees is a sign, something that points beyond itself. We call this in the Christian tradition the signum magnum, the great sign. Christ's resurrection is not a booby prize for the good. It is the fulfillment of his redemption. And Mary is the first fruits of this redemption. As we celebrate her Assumption today, we are celebrating the full deliverance of God's promise to save his people and to raise them up. Everything that Mary sang about in her Magnificat that we heard in our gospel today, this is all coming to fulfillment. And I don't know about you, but this gives me great hope as I trudge through what can sometimes be a very difficult life, when we're surrounded by heaviness and death, to know that it will not remain like this, that God will indeed raise us up out of this. He will raise up the lowly. He will feed the hungry, and that it will be in the most glorious and perfected way. That gives me great hope. And as a concrete sign of this, he has done this first for Mary. And you and I look to her today as that great sign and fulfillment in our own lives. We, this year, as we have for the past several years, have the herbs that we are celebrating. I can smell them throughout the church. They're very fragrant. They're very beautiful. The first thing that it should do is, when we smell them, we should be thinking of the sweetness of God. And Mary is the most obvious sign of the sweetness of God. You don't get any sweeter than Mary. But these herbs too symbolize, they are themselves a sign of the great sign. In this time of year, as the farmers are out working, bringing about the first fruits of the harvest, they are plucking the grains and herbs and flowers, and they are putting them in their barns so that they can be used for food and medicine and everything else. And we celebrate today that Mary is that beautiful flower that has been plucked first from God's harvest and placed into his heavenly barn. And so we have our Worship and Spirituality Commission has put together beautiful lavender bundles this year. They're amazing, as well as we have rosemary and thyme and basil and several grains of wheat. After Mass, you're more than welcome to come forward to grab as much as you'd like and to bring them home and to use them amply in your homes, to cook with them, to eat with them, to, I don't know, make medicine or tinctures out of them, whatever you'd like to do. But to see in them a sign of the great sign, which is Mary's Assumption, which itself is the sign of what will happen to us. Let us grab onto her today, grab onto the joy of this feast day, and allow it to swell in our hearts, giving rise to hope that we too might share in the glory that she has been given.